UFC 327 goes down this Saturday, and this is a prime example of why the Paramount Plus deal is phenomenal for UFC fans, because this card wouldn't be worth anywhere close to $80. They lost their co-main event in Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Tairo. You end up getting a thrown together co-main event, which, like, fine, whatever, I don't really care, but, like, this is a good example of, yeah, thank God that I don't have to pay $80 or I go to Buffalo Wild. I used to go to Buffalo Wild Wings personally, but let's preview the main card for you, which got changed up because of that Joshua Van injury. And now we are kicking off with Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr. Nate the Train Landwehr, never in a boring fight. Never, ever, ever in a boring fight. Whether he wins or loses, he's just never in a boring fight. I love Nate Landwehr. I've been waiting for this guy to come over since KSW, where he was a world champion over there. He comes over, but his style is chaotic. His style is like he just throws caution to the wind, and he goes out there and he doesn't care, but he knows he's going to wear it. And this is like actually a guy that would be good for like the BMF belt, because he's never going to contend for the actual championship belt, but he is always a guy that puts on exciting fights, and you've got a legend in Cub Swanson, the last remaining WEC member on the UFC roster, who is, I think, for all intents and purposes, I don't know if he's announced it, but everyone's assuming this is his last fight, his career send-off. The UFC did him no favors with the matchup, but I think that this fight, unfortunately for Cub, I think it benefits Nate, because I don't think Cub has the punching power to put Nate away like a lot of other fighters have. A lot of the fighters that have put Nate out or TKO'd him have done so because they're just like power punching guys, and they've been able to catch him coming in. And, you know, he doesn't have the best defense. He doesn't really care about that. He's just trying to like put it on you. I think at this stage in Cub's career, I don't think he's that guy. And I think that Nate ends up kind of beating the brakes off him a little bit. I think Cub is going to have to come in with a very disciplined, smart fight, and I think he will do that, but eventually he's going to end up getting clipped by Nate Landwehr, and I don't want to see him get put out, but I think he's going to end up getting beaten pretty badly. And then we get, you know, the video package, which is like customary now. Everybody gets a video package. So, yeah, I got Nate Landwehr in that one. Nate the Train. I think it's probably a good bet that it will be possible fight of the night, just because of the fact that, like, as I said, Nate Landwehr never in a bad fight. Never in one. Next up is the fight of two former top prospects, if you want to call them. Like, oh my God, this is the future of the UFC. Johnny Walker taking on Dominic Reyes. Thrilled for Dom Reyes, because this is a guy that I think beat John Jones. Said he was going to go out there and beat John Jones. Said he was better than John Jones. I think he went out and did it. Like, I think John Jones's name ended up winning John Jones that fight. I think when you look back on it, like, Dominic Reyes 3 rounds to 2 in that fight. But after that, he was never quite the same. Ended up getting brutally knocked out a few times, but then he's starting to put in things together, and it's very similar to Johnny Walker. The big difference is that Johnny Walker was never in a championship fight, but he was looked at for a while as like, oh, this is one to watch, and he started to put it together. There was that weird story that he was kind of poisoning himself with THC, and he was never quite right for fight camp. I don't know if I buy into that necessarily, but when I look at this particular matchup, I do think it benefits Dominic Reyes a little bit. I don't know if Johnny Walker's still training at SPG Ireland with John Kavanagh. I think he probably is. That seemed to do him a little bit of good when he switched camps, or at least after a few fights, he ended up, you know, coming out of that losing streak. But Johnny Walker is more of a power puncher, and Dominic Reyes is a guy that goes out there and his attacks are calculated. And he has really, really good striking. Not that Johnny Walker doesn't. I mean, this is going to be a really good matchup. It's one that I'm not confident in. I could see it going either way. I lean towards Dominic Reyes because of the level of talent that he's faced, and the wars he's been in. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Johnny Walker went out there and knocked him out, because both these guys have been prone to that. Both these guys have been prone to just getting clipped and dusted quickly, by the way. So I have Dominic Reyes in this one, but it's a good opportunity for the UFC to build these guys back up. One of these guys is coming out of this fight probably with a TKO win or a KO win, you would think, because, as I said, of the history with these two. So one of these guys will be coming out flying high a little bit, and maybe you can build them back up into challenger and a contender. Next up, we have Curtis Blades versus Josh Hokett. Cringy Josh Hogan. I know that Henry Cejudo basically just trademarked King of Cringe. No, it's Josh Hogan. Like, this dude is, and Curtis Blades said it, but like the whole gimmick of like, I'm like Hulk Hogan, I'm a wrestler now. It's so unbelievably cheesy that I think a lot of fans, myself included, are looking forward to this guy just getting absolutely wrecked. The problem is Josh Hogan fights in a very, 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 very shallow division. He fights in the most shallow division in the UFC, which is heavyweight. I mean, you've got MMA, can't talk, hit thumbs down for that. You've got MMA analysts talking about getting rid of the heavyweight division because of how bad it is right now, which is prime for a guy like Josh Hogan to come in there, because you're probably 3-4 fights away from legitimately challenging for a belt in this shallow division. With this fight, though, it's different. Like, with this fight, you've got a situation where he's kind of facing the ultimate gatekeeper in Curtis Blades, who's really only lost to the top of the top guys. And I don't think the matchup is great for Josh Hogan. Like, I really don't. I know he's been able to go out there and put it on guys, knock them out, and kind of get the heavyweight name back a little bit because when you think about heavyweights, you think about knockouts and quick knockouts and brutal knockouts. You don't think about what we've grown to, unfortunately, get used to, which is two fat dudes in the cage looking up at the clock with their hands on their hips, because 4 minutes in, they're both gassed because they were swinging from their hips the entire fight. That's what we've unfortunately gotten used to. Hogan's been one of the few guys that's been able to go out there and just absolutely wreck dudes. Unfortunately, when he does that, he gets on a mic. That's where like it all just comes crumbling down for Josh. I think he's been able to realize, like, all right, I need mic skills to have a future in this sport and make money. That's fine. You need to be good on the mic. He's horrible. Curtis Blades, meanwhile, is the exact opposite of that. He doesn't have good mic skills. He isn't a knockout artist. What he is, though, is a guy that will go out there and wrestle you. And I don't see Josh Hogan having the wrestling defense. I think one of the biggest issues in MMA, and sports in general, but MMA especially, is guys are way too confident. Like in this example, Josh Hogan, I think, will be way too confident in his striking that he'll go, I don't need to really worry about the takedown because I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to knock him out quick. I'm going to find his chin. He's going to go to sleep. So, yeah, he can try to wrestle me all he wants, but he's not going to be able to do that when he's, backs on the canvas and he's staring up at the lights. I think that's a mistake. I think you're going to see a situation where Curtis might have to wear a shot or two. He's going to be able to take Josh Hogan down, smother him, keep him there, and it's not going to be an exciting fight. It's probably going to be a boring fight, especially if you're looking for fireworks coming out from the heavyweight division. I will say, though, you're probably coming out of two fights in Nate Landwehr, Cub Swanson, Dominic Reyes, and Johnny Walker, which were bangers of fights, at least on paper they should be. I think this is going to be a little bit of a letdown, but I think Curtis Blades is going to humble Josh Hogan. I think his wrestling is just so much better than a lot of people. I mean, when you think about the wrestlers in the heavyweight division, it's basically Sergey Spivak and Curtis Blades. And Blades is like the premier guy. Blades is trying to get back into that title contention. I don't think the UFC did Josh Hogan any favors with this matchup. Now, look, if Josh Hogan wins, he's probably, right there in the conversation because, as I said, shallow division. But I see this one going where Curtis Blades just ends up holding him down and smothering him for 15 minutes. All right, co-main event time. You've got Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Costa moving up to 205 in this one from 185. And just like Josh Hogan, I don't think the UFC did him any favors with this matchup. Murzakanov has gone out there the last two fights and wrecked opponents, first-round knockouts. And much like the couple with the Johnny Walker and Dominic Reyes, like Paulo Costa's fought for a belt. Like he was supposed to be like the future of the sport a little bit, future title contender. I mean, he did contend for a belt, but he lost. Now he's moving up in weight class and fighting a guy that's been consistently knocking guys out at 205. I don't know how that plays. I think Paulo Costa's probably cooked, and I think this is a good opportunity for the UFC because they want to showcase Murzakanov with a name. People know who Paulo Costa is. I don't know how many casuals know who Murzakanov is. I think Murzakanov is going to absolutely run through Paulo Costa. I think he is going to destroy him. I don't see it being great. And then finally, the main event of the night, you have the championship on the line because it was vacated by Poatan. You've got Jiří Procházka going up against Carlos Ulberg in this one. And the UFC is running into this issue where this is, I feel like, the third pay-per-view in a row where I go, Unfortunately for these two guys, we all know who the real best in the division is. And in this situation, we all know it's Alex Pereira. But he gave up the belt. And he gives it to Jiří Procházka and Carlos Ulberg a chance. Jiří Procházka also never in a boring fight. And I think this one goes Yuri's way. And one of the big reasons why is Carlos Ulberg is a very technical, smart fighter. He's done a great job in his UFC career since coming over. He fights at a really, really good camp. Training and getting ready for Jiří Procházka is just different because the guy just doesn't seem to really get hurt. And the biggest example I can give is the Alexander Rakic fight. You're watching that first round. Yuri's leg was toast. Like, it was completely cooked. Rakic was hammering that front leg, and Jiří could barely stand. And Jiří just didn't care. He's throwing bombs, and eventually he caught him. Eventually he caught Rakic, he put it on him, and he ended the fight. And under no circumstance did you watch the first round and a half and go, oh, Yuri's going to win this fight. He was doing typical Jiří shit. He was acting like he wasn't hurt. He was switching stances. He was doing his ninja stuff or the samurai stuff, whatever everyone's call it. But then he found his shot. And that seems to be the case with Jiří. He throws defense completely to the side. Like Nate Landwehr. He's a big Nate Landwehr. Just defense, I don't know what that is. And he goes out there and he's able to find the chin of his opponent eventually. And I think Carlos Ulberg, while he's a heavy hitter, I think it's just difficult to handle a guy that is going to be in your face the entire fight, who also, by the way, has been there before. He's been in championship situations before, but he's in your face the entire time. He's putting that pressure on you, and he just doesn't seem like your shots are affecting him. And he's also got a weird style and weird stances. So I see this one going Yuri's way. I think that this is going to be Jiří end up winning it. And I don't know if he finishes him necessarily, but my gut tells me he does. But I wouldn't be surprised if Carlos Ulberg puts it on Jiří for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's a lot like that Alexander Rakic fight. A lot like, if you want to compare it to the Khalil Roundtree fight, as I said, this happens a lot with Jiří, where he seems like he's injured. He seems like it's not going his way, but he just keeps battling through and he finds a shot. That's the main card. I'm going with Nate Landwehr. I am going with Dominic Reyes. I am going with Curtis Blades. I am going with Azamat Murzakanov. Alexander, Jesus. And I'm going with Jiří Procházka. Let's look at some of the undercard fights. The one fight that I love, and this is a situation I think where if you look at the undercard, it's pretty strong. You've got Aaron Pico going against Patricio Pitbull in a Bellator rematch. Patricio Pitbull is a former Bellator champion. Aaron Pico is made out to be like the future of the sport. He comes over to the UFC, got humbled pretty quickly by Leon Edwards. Or not Leon Edwards, I'm sorry. I am drawing a blank. Hit thumbs down for that. He's a casual. It's another English fighter that I'm drawing a complete blank on. And I could look it up too. I could literally click a button and look it up, and I'm not going to do that. And it's going to come to me. But it's not Leon Edwards. But he's a lot like Leon Edwards, and he doesn't really fight often. Anyway, yeah, he got completely humbled by that dude. I'm going to look it up. Like, this is ridiculous. Hit thumbs down, folks. Hit thumbs down, because I have to look it up. And the worst part is I can picture him. I don't know if you've ever had that. We've all had it, where you can picture the guy, and you can't think of his name. Lerone Murphy. Jesus Christ. Smash that thumbs down button. But he got humbled quick against Lerone Murphy. And I think that in this one, Aaron Pico goes out there, gets his wins and moves on, and UFC tries to build him up. The fight that I'm looking probably forward to the most is Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. I love Kevin Holland. You've heard me talk about Kevin Holland glowingly. Anytime I rip Bo Nickel, I make sure to mention Kevin Holland because Kevin Holland is very active. But Randy Brown's really talented. I think that Kevin Holland, though, his punching power is just there. Like, his striking is there. I do wonder if he's going to be able to handle the grappling of Randy, and my gut tells me he will because he's been pretty much working on that nonstop for 3 years. But I like Kevin Holland in this one. And it's unfortunate because I like both guys, and I think Randy is, as I said, really, really talented, but I think eventually Kevin Holland finds the chin. Mateusz Gamrot going up against Esteban Ribovics. That's a really, really good fight at 155. Gamrot has been kind of one of those, like, he's one fight away from a title picture. Ribovics is coming on the scene a little bit. That's going to be a fun fight. And I think if one of those two guys ends up getting a commanding victory, you could end up seeing them they'll be at least in the conversation. I'm not saying they get the next title shot, but they'll be in the conversation of getting the next title shot. Other than that, who do we got? Anybody else? Kevin Gastelum. I'm sorry, Kevin Gastelum. It's been a long day. I am cooked, running on no sleep. Kelvin Gastelum going up against Vicente Luque, deep in the card, like very deep in the card. You got a guy that fought for an interim belt against Vicente Luque, who was looked at as a future guy to fight for a belt. I like Luque in that one, but damn, like that is fall from grace for those two guys. And that's about it. All right. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. As far as comments go, I'm probably only going to respond to channel members. So become a channel member, support the channel. That'd be cool of you. Hit thumbs up if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. I'm going to go now. I don't know how to end these.